in collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
This week we focus on culture and sport, with the Cyprus Rally taking place next weekend, and it could clinch the European Rally Championship.
Lukwanuk, Hawaii and Ingram, the three first contestants, are very close to the title.
On a quieter note, an ongoing exhibition looks at Nicosia and Cyprus from an unusual angle.
Cities fascinate me as they develop and evolve, and sometimes due to circumstances they become divided and stressed. So my focus of research is actually stressed cities.
An interactive exhibition on games and politics opened this week.
We want to show with this exhibition games which are not only commercial games like wargaming and other things, but games which are made by artists and people who want to transport content which is focusing on social issues.
And at the theatre, a play that will delight and may shock audiences.
The book that's being adapted is called Venus and Fur, and it was basically the beginning of S&M in a sense. So Masok, the original writer in 1870, his name Leopold von Sacher-Masoch, is what became masochism.
Well, next week sees the 47th Cyprus Rally, a counter for the European Rally Championship and the Middle East Rally Championship, and of course the Cyprus Rally Championship. To tell us what's coming up this year, we're joined by the clerk of the course, Naya Kontopoulou. Naya, 47 years, and you've been the clerk of the course now for many of those years. Does it get easier as the years go on, because the system is in place, you have your teams in place, and everybody sort of knows what they're doing?
It doesn't get easier, trust me, because there are new demanding regulations from the competitor side, but also from the organizational side and the FIA. So I think the level of difficulty is still the same. It's enjoyable though. It's still enjoyable after so many years. We never get enough of it.
So tell us about the changes to regulations, for example. What's new this year that will perhaps be interesting for spectators so they understand what's going on?
The new part this year is not regarding the regulations. It's regarding the setup of the rally. We are moving from what we knew for the last years. We are moving upwards, and we get a flair of the old Cyprus rally on the mountainous stages, the difficult stages which need technique from the competitor side, and of course from the marshals side, because they have to go there and they have to be extremely careful. And I think we are getting a little bit from the old Cyprus rally, the very famous Cyprus rally back this year.
So
this is the new thing about this year's events.
So it'll be more technical for the drivers and presumably much rougher on the cars, because some of those mountain stages are notorious for being car breakers.
We are not going back to those stages, the car breakers. Most of those stages, you remember, I'm sure, are in the Paphos forest. We don't reach Paphos forest. We are going on the mountainous part of Nicosia, outside Nicosia, nice stages. Yes, they require technique, but they are very nice stages. They are flowing really nice, and I'm sure all the competitors will enjoy. They are not very hard, but once they are ready and once they set up their technique, and they will enjoy, I'm sure they will.
So who's taking part this year? I mean, what are the big names? I'm sure that we have Nasser coming back again, do we?
Nasser has already arrived in Cyprus. Yes,
we should, for those who aren't followers of the rally, say we're talking about Nasser Al-Attiyah from Qatar, yes?
He's very fond of the Cyprus rally. He enjoys driving in the Cyprus rally, and he's a very good friend of Cyprus as well. But the entry list has very famous names. I'm sure you know that this year the European Championship, the title, I think will be decided here. Lukwanuk, Hawaii and Ingram, the three first contestants, are very close to the title. Ingram and Lukwanuk are away one second from each other, so they will fight here. The people who will go out on the stages will have the chance to enjoy a very nice fight between the three, especially these three competitors.
So it could be decided here,
yes.
But if it's not, there aren't very many rallies left, are there?
Only one rally. And I'm sure they will fight for it. I'm sure they want this business to end up here. They cannot take it further down. So
do we have the golden stage again this year?
No. Unfortunately, we didn't find the sponsor for the golden stages, so we will not have a golden stage. We had 2 golden stages for the last couple of years. We will not have them this year.
So no big money up for those final 2 stages, but good prizes nonetheless, and of course those all-important championship points.
Yeah. The most important, if I'm permitted to say, is the title, the European Championship title, and they will fight for that, and only for that.
But we've also got some good Cypriot drivers in the lineup,
definitely.
And they'll be fighting as well, a few of them for the European Championship, but most importantly for the Cyprus Championship. Where does that stand?
Simos Galatariotis, the leader of the championship and last year's winner of the Cyprus Rally, will fight for his title, for his 2 titles, because he will fight for his title in the Cyprus Rally. He wants to get it for a second year, and of course he will fight for championship points for the national championship. All the Cypriot competitors fighting for the national championship, they are all taking part in the Cyprus Rally. We cannot have a Cyprus Rally without them. We don't do the Cyprus Rally only for the foreigners, so they will fight. They will be there and they will fight against all the foreigners.
A final word on safety, especially for people who are going out to the stages. I'm sure that you have details online, on social media, and of course at the Rally HQ and so on. So where can people find out what they should and shouldn't do, and where are the best places to go and watch?
On our website, we will be uploading directions for the spectators where to go to enjoy a safe rally and enjoy the best parts of the stage. I mean, to have nice views and, of course, to be on the safe side. We don't want to cause any problems, any accidents, neither to the competitors nor to the spectators. We ask them, I personally ask everybody, to follow the marshal's directions. We don't want them to keep them out from the stages. On the contrary, we want to send them to safe places where they can enjoy the rally. So I am asking everybody, please follow the marshal's directions, and please follow the directions and go on our website and follow all the directions we are giving in there for the spectator points, how to reach the spectator points, the times they can reach the spectator points in order for them to enjoy their weekend.
And we should add that you don't take your car into a special stage. The special stages are closed to non-rally traffic for a while before the first car passes and sometime after the last car has swept the stage. So do go online if you want to go and watch so that you stay safe and you enjoy the Cyprus Rally, which kicks off next Friday.
This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
There's a fascinating exhibition on at the CVAR, which continues for another week or so, and joining us is the artist involved. She is Silvat Aziz, who hails from Pakistan, but works, I think, in Canada and visits Cyprus fairly regularly. So, Silvat, explain why, first of all, you called your exhibition Melusine's Island.
I wanted to find a commonality, and for that I really did have to go as far back as Melusine. Cities fascinate me as they develop and evolve, and sometimes due to circumstances they become divided and stressed. So my focus of research is actually stressed cities.
And this is because of where you come from, so let's go right back to the beginning.
Well, my home city is Lahore. It's on the border of India and Pakistan, and during the partition of 1947, which I shouldn't really go into too many details because people know about it, The area was very stressed, and almost 500,000 people crossed from one side to another and the opposite direction too. And we still live with memories and indications of the population that left, both good and bad. And I'm sure that the opposite cities also have the same. So there's an affinity and an understanding and empathy on how a city tries to survive this trauma, even for 70 years. It's still in the making. The remedy is still in the making.
So there are huge connections then with Nicosia and Cyprus.
There are enormous connections. I mean, the reason why I come back to Nicosia is some personal, but also that Nicosia is so much like my home city, Lahore. The vegetation, the bougainvillea, the colors, the heat, the dust, and just the absolutely glorious sunsets and the cool evenings. So when I first came to Nicosia, it was almost like landing home, and people actually mistook me for Greek, which was really a very heartwarming circumstance for me.
Let's talk now about the pictures that are surrounding us and how you put them together, because they're based on photographs, but then you do all sorts of things to them to come up with these images.
Yeah, I'm not a photographer per se. I'm essentially a printmaker and a painter. And I used photo-based imagery for expediency. It's also really the 21st century, and we cannot but rely on digital media. So I use photographs, but in the end, when I'm finished with them, they really do not look like photographs. They don't have the glossy, artificial surfaces. They really are very organic. They're also sequential, and they're narrative. Not that photography can't do that. I think photography can do that beautifully, but it's just that my bent is towards the manipulated surface. And until I can intervene and interact with the surface of my image, things are not complete for me.
So you take the photograph, and let's talk about the series over there behind us with, if you like, the double layer, and Melusine very much on the back layer. Again, I need this connection with what it is about the story of Melusine that attracted you to, for example, doing those images which are taken from the collection of the CVAR.
So Melusine is important to me because she is the first thought, the first idea that emerged in my mind as I was thinking of this work. The story goes that she swam around the island many times, and it just kind of completed the circle for me of Cyprus as a single entity, a united entity, and a beautiful entity. So Melusine, in a way, is that circling, and I see this circling everywhere, especially in Nicosia, because the walls are circled. There's a time, there's a circle, there's an enclosed system. But anyway, to go back to Melusine, I was absolutely fascinated by the stories and how she occurs in almost every culture. So the French have them, the English have it, the Chinese, the Middle Eastern people have in some form of a dragon or a mermaid or a sea fairy. There's Melusines everywhere. And this particular series of images, the etchings, are based on Tristram Ellis's work, which is housed in the library here. And it's an original rare book of etchings that are just amazingly done. And they never see light of the day. So I just assumed that I'm the one who's going to bring these images out of the book and connect them with Melusine. So Tristram was a traveler, an amazing artist who traveled in this area and made hundreds of etchings and paintings. A fair number of them may be housed here, if I'm correct. So these images, when I took them, I didn't want them to be merely a copy of his work. So I used a process called image lifting, or rather when you draw, it essentially goes like this. You draw on a piece of paper, and then you lift the image or the ink or the pencil marks or the paint marks onto a transparent matrix. And I've been working with this process for a while, and it's singularly fruitful if you want to make layers of meaning. So in this particular case, I only have 2 layers, but I can continue and make many, many more layers to depict my understanding of the images that Tristram actually saw. So I can bring them into the 21st century.
It's a sort of a superimposition, isn't it?
It is a superimposition. I can also fuse them together, and I can also add below or in front. So the process allows me to do that.
It's, as I said at the beginning, a fascinating exhibition because you've also brought the old and divided part of the city to life alongside very modern images, and then some other fascinating ones like that Cyprus Airways plane from presumably the late 50s, early 60s. I mean, definitely a very old aeroplane. And it's in a way an encapsulation, I suppose, of the history of Cyprus.
Well, I hope this is, as I said, it's really not the culmination. It's really the beginning of my journey. And I want to combine this with images that I have from London, Lahore, and Nicosia. So it's the 3 cities that engage me at the moment for the foreseeable future.
And this possibly is the first of a series of exhibitions over the years. How long is it on for?
It's on until the end of the month.
So do go down to the CVAR and take a little time to walk around Melusine's island. It's the work of Silvat Aziz.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
An unusual interactive exhibition is currently on at the Goethe Institute in the buffer zone in Nicosia. It's called Games and Politics, and we're going to find out all about it from the director of the Goethe in Cyprus, Karin Varga. Karin, tell us about this. It's a different type of exhibition and one that should appeal, I think, particularly to young people, because most of them are into gaming, aren't they?
Yes, indeed. And we decided to bring this exhibition to Cyprus because we never had something about digitalization or gaming. And as we all know, gaming is a big theme and a big issue in our society nowadays. More money is made by selling games than selling films and movies. So it's amazing how this feature or format is increasing and is attracting all the youth and also not so young people. Also the elder people, women and men equally play. And yes, I personally don't play, but I think we have to realize that it is
it's a global
growing.
Phenomenon.
Yeah, it's a global phenomenon, and it's growing, and people are sitting in front of their computers, their smartphones, and they are playing, they are gaming.
And it's not just like it used to be with the early computer games where you played just on your own. Now it's so interactive because you hook up with people, don't you, in other countries, in other time zones and whatever, and so it becomes a much more team spirit thing, which can be, with the war games, of course, quite different and can be aggressive. But this particular exhibition is entitled Games and Politics. Now tell me where the politics comes in.
Well, I have to say it's an exhibition which was produced in our headquarters in Munich and was touring around the world and since 2016. So this is a focus theme we had, and we want to show with this exhibition games which are not only commercial games and war gaming and other things, but games which are made by artists and people who want to transport content which is focusing on social issues, especially Orwell or Papers, Please. Gamings we will show in the playthroughs on several days. They will concern to these themes and questions which are in the society.
Well, games can be used, can't they, as an educational tool as well? I mean, if you look at games for younger children, a lot of them are teaching games. But the kids have fun doing them, so they remember what they've learned.
It's a very wonderful and easy way to be aware or to teach about things you are not aware of, and to bring someone in the position he has never been before, like in Papers, Please. The player is the person who has to decide if someone can cross a border or not, and how many people can come in, and it's very complicated then how the consequences are.
You've also got these playthroughs that you mentioned a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Now, what does that involve? Because that's on, I think, certain days. It doesn't happen every day of the exhibition. It can't. It goes on for a month.
No.
So tell us a little bit about this interaction of people who are going to turn up on these specific days and what they'll do with the playthrough.
Yes, we decided to have 3 playthroughs in these series of events, and we have 3 film screenings as well. So we have more or less 8 events in 1 month. And the playthroughs are for an audience which is not so much used to gaming, but want to know more about it. And there we will screen on a big screen the game. We have engaged 1 player and a moderator and 2 experts, 1 from Germany and 1 from Cyprus, most of the playthroughs, who will discuss about the things are going on in this game and the issues the game is dealing with.
Right, so those are specific days, but if people turn up any day until October the 16th, what will they see?
The people who will drop into the exhibition will see 16 consoles with computers, screens. These are the 16 games you can play.
So they can come in and they can actually log in and have a go at one of these games if they've never done gaming before.
You can immediately start each of the 16 games if you want to.
And then if there's a particular one they're interested in, they can come to the playthrough if it's featured and see what the strategy is and all of that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Sounds like a lot of fun, and that is running at the Goethe Institute in the buffer zone in Nicosia. It has opened already, but it does go through until the 16th of October. And we've been talking to the director of the Goethe, Karin Varga.
You can subscribe to the Cyprus News Digest on iTunes for free and get the program downloaded to your phone or tablet so you can listen anytime, anywhere.
Next weekend, there's English theatre. It's Venus in Fur, and it's running for 2 weekends in Nicosia. We have with us on the programme this week the 2 protagonists. They are Christina Marouhou and David Dimitriou. So, ladies first. Christina, tell us a bit about the play, and then we'll talk about your part.
Okay, well, the play is a play within a play, essentially. It's one we call dark, maybe sexy comedy. It's essentially based on Leopold von Sacher-Masoch's book Venus in Fur, where a writer made a play adaptation out of the novel, and he's looking for his actress, his lead actress.
And you presumably are the gentleman looking for the actress, is that right?
Indeed I am. So I play the role of Thomas Novacek, who is a writer and first-time director, and the play opens just as he is at his wit's end trying to find the lead actress after seeing a panoply of ridiculously Americanized women who are just saying like all the time and making ridiculous statements about sexuality and stuff like that. And then in walks this lady who, on first appearances, looks like just another one until she starts to read.
And then?
And then that's where the magic begins. I play Vanda Jordan, which is the last actress, the actress that comes in hours after her audition to read for this play. And she is exactly what Thomas dislikes and cannot stand. So after some comings and goings, she finally makes him to allow her to audition. And she is definitely not what he's expecting. And as the play progresses, and the play within the play progresses, we suddenly see like the relationship, the actor-director relationship and the man-woman relationship start to blur their lines maybe a little bit. I don't want to give too much away because...
So essentially the book that's being adapted is called Venus and Fur, and it was basically the beginning of S&M in a sense. So Massock, the original writer in 1870, his name Leopold von Sacher-Masoch, is what became masochism. And so obviously there's the role play between the master and the slave being replicated with the director and the actress, and those lines possibly begin to blur. And that's kind of the premise.
So it's going to shock some audiences in Cyprus?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say there's any full-on nudity. There is some kind of loose clothing, let's put it that way. But no, there's not actual any acts of sadomasochism, perhaps acted out with miming, but nothing too shocking. So
you wouldn't call it vulgar.
I definitely wouldn't call it vulgar.
But it is fun. It's funny, so people should really keep that in mind, that it's a comedy. I mean, even though the premise, let's say the book, does have some strings attached to it, let's say, essentially the play is a comedy. And people ought to remember that.
What about parental guidance?
Yes, there's some explicit words, so there is certainly a parental guidance element.
Have you got a sort of suggestion to people about what age maybe it's inappropriate for?
We're saying in the world we live in, it should be around 14 and up, because anything that they will see on stage, I'm sure they have seen before on TV or movies.
But we could say like 16 and up, just to
to be absolutely correct, let's say 16 and up. Yes, exactly.
What made both of you want to do this play?
Well, it's a beautifully written play. It's only 2 parts for the man and the woman, even though they role play in the play. So that's always very interesting for an actor, that you get to see all these different depths to each character that you portray. So it's always a challenge, and it's always fun to do that. And
I would say that's exactly what attracted me to it, because it's not, I've played multi-role plays before, but this isn't multi-role in a sense, because I play an English writer and director who, when he starts to read the role for the audition, he becomes an Austro-Hungarian accented person, which has been very interesting to find that accent, so more like Russian. And even when that man is also trying to pretend to be the woman as well at some point. So there's kind of multi-layered characters within plays. So it's definitely a challenge, I would say. And
it doesn't come up often, like such a beautifully written play. So I think any actor would want to take off that challenge, and it's just great that I get to do it with David.
Exactly. We've worked many times before, and so when James called me and asked me if I'd like to audition for the role, at first workload was saying no, but then I found out the cast possibilities, and I was like, well, And I've read the play as well, and everything seemed to say, yes, I should really go for this one.
So it's on next weekend. Give us the dates and where people can buy tickets and where it's happening.
Well, it's happening at the Pantheon Theatre in Nicosia. We're premiering on the 27th of September, which is next Friday. Then we're playing on the 28th, which is the Saturday. And then the following week, 4th and 5th of October, again a Friday and a Saturday, we're starting at 8 o'clock.
For bookings, you can call 99-593-236. Alternatively, just email ticketsforact, that's one word, @gmail.com.
And the tickets cost?
I think it's €12, yes.
But they can find information on Facebook. We created an event on
underneath the ACT website, the ACT Facebook page, and the Facebook group. So if you just look on Facebook for ACT, you will find the group, and all the information is inside there.
David Dimitriou, Christina Maruhu, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.